The second part of this lifestyle area we're talking about is perhaps what you're putting into your body to become an elite basketball player. And I'm sure we all do this, especially when we're younger. A lot of fast food, junk food, soft drink, things like that, and all in moderation. Isn't that what they teach us in school, Nick? All in moderation. Yeah. So
Correct.
this podcast is not like don't eat Maccas or don't drink Coke, okay? But it's like maybe you could cut down on some of that sort of stuff and consider if you are wanting to become an elite basketball player, perhaps a better balance and a better leaning towards a much more healthy lifestyle in regards to what you're putting into your body to fuel your game. And look, like I said to you before, I'm not a nutritionalist. I'm not here to give you a menu plan on what you should eat and so on and so forth. I'm sure there's plenty of YouTube channels there, and Google's a great resource. Hell, I'm sure if you talk to your mum or your dad, they might even be able to go, hey, here's a list of things that I think would definitely help you eat to be healthier, okay, and help your sporting sort of game progress and feel good about that sort of situation. And again, everyone's a bit different. Okay, everyone's a bit different. Okay, so you got to find what works for you. Just because it says, I know a lot of places say eat pasta, yeah, eat pasta for some reason before a game, right? Because the carbs or something. Yeah, and look, I'm going to say I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but if it works for you, that's great. But finding the right sort of preparation and lifestyle in regards to what you eat, okay, again, really does help you be ready to perform, I guess, at your best when it comes game time.
So, look, from my understanding of the public education system, at least in Victoria, you will get some basic nutritional advice throughout your schooling.
You reckon?
And there's also, well, there is, like you'll talk about food groups, especially in secondary health groups, but we also talk about healthy food choices at primary level. Okay. I think we all can figure out chocolate cake is delicious, but it's not probably helping us the way that we want. And I think one of the traps that young people fall into, and even people in their 20s, is I am, I hate to say it, but I don't look fat, so therefore I'm fine, right? Even though I eat poorly, I still look skinny. I might even still have a six pack, for example. This is the joy of metabolism at young age. This is not you making good choices and getting results. I have a very funny anecdote, but one of the best cross-country runners at my high school was a known smoker. All right. Do you have any idea how frustrating that is? That I was playing a lot of basketball at the time, pretty fit, but watch that kid just run past everyone. And everyone knew that he was smashing a pack of cigarettes every day. Not advocating for that. I'm just saying your bodies are kind of weird when you're a teenager. Okay. What you're doing, you're setting up healthy habits or unhealthy habits in that circumstance, but the results maybe don't always relate with what they should. They'll catch up with you eventually, but they don't relate at the time. So diet's a really big one. Fruit, vegetables, your carbohydrates such as pasta, as you referenced. Eating bread but not putting Nutella on top of it if you're having toast. Not overeating, not eating at random times such as 2 a.m. in the morning. If you do have fast food, it's not every day, it's once a week or once a fortnight. These are basic guidelines, but you can get nutrition advice from a specific nutritionist. You can talk to your local doctor, they'd probably give you a basic plan. You can Google these basic plans. But the other trap is without working with someone one-on-one, your information is different to theirs. All right. So height changes what your body needs because you don't need as much food when you're 5 foot versus 6 foot or versus 7 foot. And males and females have differences. Even cultural backgrounds have differences as well. I'm not going to go, I already feel like I'm ranting, but I'll bring it back a bit. There's so much that goes into nutrition that you either need to educate yourself or find someone who can work alongside with you. And if you don't want to do either of those two things, then probably just stop having fast food all the time and you'll instantly notice something better. Because even if you're not looking fat and you still have that, you still have muscles, you will be surprised at how much better you'll feel in a game the day after doing this if you eat properly. And I guess that transition is to sleep. And I'll go on my rant about sleep. We know that teenagers struggle to sleep. All right. There's a bit of research going on. Potentially in the future, we'll adjust our school days to accommodate to teenagers so they don't have to get up as early because they like to be more nocturnal. But you're going through massive growth changes. If you think about when you enter as a teenager at the age of 13 and you exit at the age of 19, it's a small window, but a lot happens, right? You know, I went from being about 5 foot and chubby to 6 foot and relatively athletic by the end of my teams. And other people go through much more drastic changes. So a lot of that comes from sleep. A lot of that comes from recovery. A lot of that comes from just getting the sleep that you need. So we can't guarantee that you're going to get 8 hours every night. You hear that, because not everyone needs it. Some people function off a little less. Some people need a little more. But the big thing is, if you have a game tomorrow, don't have an all-nighter. Don't go to a party and stay past midnight. If you know you have to be up early for training, don't just wake up 5 minutes before you have to go. Don't just, you know, play games till 2 a.m. in the morning. There are healthy choices that you can make. It's boring. Okay, it's boring. And you know what? There are probably a couple of people, and you hear anecdotes from NBA players that they went out partying all night and then they came to the game and they were fantastic. You are probably not statistically going to be one of those people that is just naturally good, irrelevant of how well you take care of yourself. And these are, again, the controllable things. The last anecdote that I'm going to do, DeAndre Ayton just signed his contract with Phoenix finally, and there were apprehensions about getting that. Now, one of the anecdotes that's come out was he stays up all night and plays video games, and there's questions about his work ethic, about his focus. Now, he might have a $133 million contract. That's his natural ability really carrying in there. But that apprehension to throw max money at him last year, give him 5 years, and really talk him up to be a superstar is potentially due to lifestyle choices that he's making. And it might work now, but in 4 or 5 years' time, when he's a bit older and he's a bit more banged up, those choices, if he's still making them, probably are impacting him more then than they are now. And if he's setting up this habit now, there are questions about the habit moving forward. And I'm sorry that was so long.
That's all right. I didn't realize you also had insider information in the Phoenix Suns organization, but clearly you've done some reading up. Is that right, Nick?
Correct. I love
But
love reading up.
but look, I think to sort of from my perspective, to finish off this sleep and recovery area, probably ties in with one more word, is sacrifice. I think you need to think about, if you are a teenager hoping to play elite professional basketball, what are you willing to sacrifice? And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Don't get me wrong. We've all been through those years when we had parties and late nights, and mate says, let's go do this. But, I got basketball training tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock or whatever. That what do you sometimes have to say no to? Or sometimes, here's a balance, might have to leave it earlier. I think that's a situation that, often happens too for players that go, well, I can't stay till 2 a.m. for this party, but, I can stay till 10 and then head home and get enough sleep for the next day's whatever, basketball activities that I have. And you already alluded to it. Sleep is critical for development, and that's a no-brainer. And I think, again, it's just finding the right amount of sleep for each person. Some people will obviously function of more sleep, and some people function of less sleep, and finding the right balance of rest and recovery for yourself as a player. So then when you are arriving at a game, that you're feeling ready to go. And I think, you want to be arriving at a game feeling at 100%. If you're arriving at a game feeling at 50%, then you got to consider why. Is it something that I ate earlier today? Shouldn't have eaten that steak, an hour before the game? Or is it because, hell, I stayed up 6 hours last night playing games till 4 a.m. So I'm now tired for my game in the next day. And these things to consider. But if you can find that balance, okay, maybe it's getting in a nap even, before your game. A lot of players do that, and pro players do that too. Get a nap in before their game, and then obviously get ready for the game and do all the prep stuff, and then head to the game. And you're arriving at your game feeling 100%. Then you're ready to perform as best as you can.